What's up? We are here with Miguel, Star Wars Newsday Live. My good friend is back for another chance, a chance at redemption. Some might say a chance to redeem himself from the depths of despair he was in for last year's predictions. Now, Miguel, you're a good man because not many people would have the guts to come out and show the world the 10 predictions they got wrong for the previous year. Like it's one thing to go 50-50, it's another thing to go, 0%, but here we are, 2025, and we're upping the stakes here. We're going to go even more predictions this year. This is going to be more rapid fire. We're going to try to get through 25 questions and predictions for 2025 in Star Wars. We'll see if we get through all of them. This will be fun. I'm excited to be a part of this year. Miguel, how confident are you that you're going to get at least 24 out of 25 right this year? I feel like you went 0 for 10 last year. You're going to be unstoppable this year, right?
I mean, listen, from a certain point of view, you could actually say that I got 10 out of 10 because I said 10 things and all of them were so wrong that the opposite thing happened. Like some of them were so surefire that there was no way they could go wrong, and they did. So I think from a certain point of view, I got a 10 out of 10.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I agree wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
So everyone,
I
before we get
I
going,
figured.
hit that hit that like and subscribe button. Check us out on Apple and Spotify for the full audio at Star Wars News Net. Leave us a little review there and give us a subscribe over there so you can listen to us every week. We try to give you 2 to 3 shows a week. So here we go. Starting with number 1. Question right here. Will Kathleen Kennedy still be head of Lucasfilm 1 year from now? As many have before, we could talk about this for 12 hours straight and still not really reach a real conclusion on this conversation. And Miguel, I'm going to throw it to you here. Will Kathleen Kennedy still be head of Lucasfilm 1 year from today? Recording this on January 13th, 2025.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that she stays through Mando and Grogu coming out.
Mhm. I agree. I think the same exact thing. I think she wants to end on some sort of high, some sort of thing she can say this was a win. And I think if Star Wars comes back in style, feature film style, she's going to feel good about that. And then we might see the next wave enter in afterwards. So I kind of,
Of
I'm
course,
with
like,
you. With you.
and there's no really like an end point to that because if you say like, okay, she's gonna stay through Mando and Grogu, then it's like one more year and she stays through the 50th anniversary. It's like
Right.
once you get to that point, could she really push for another year to stay through the 50th? And
Mhm.
then it's like 6 more months for the next movie. Like I don't know, at some point she's gonna have to like put a stop to it and just say I'm retiring, and
Right.
I'm not 100% sure when that's gonna be. Mountain Grove could be it, but I could also see reasons for
Mhm.
her to stay for later on.
So there's a lot of different dates coming up. There's a lot of different ways this could spin. I think we're both saying year from nothing's going to happen this year though to change anything. It's going to
Yeah.
be status quo on that point. Next one. What will be the next Star Wars feature film in production? It says Star Wars next feature film, but what will be the next Star Wars feature film in production? What are you going with?
Okay, so I know there are some reports saying that it could be Sean Levy's.
Mhm.
I am still going to go with Mangold's
Okay.
because I think
Why?
that
Why?
he
What's leave you there?
has. I mean, I could see Levy basically because of how quickly he turned around Deadpool, and that he got on board, and a few months later, well, a year later they were in production, but a few months later they got Hugh Jackman, and that was a huge coup, and so on. I still think that Mangold, because of how disconnected he is, and because of how effective he is, and also because he has worked with Lucasfilm before, I still will give him the edge. Although
Okay.
I could see the reports being true about Levy being ready to be shooting this fall,
Hmm.
just because they have a writer working on it. He's been working on it for a few months now. He uh, hasn't had he hasn't worked for Lucasfilm before, but I could see their visions aligning pretty well, just because of how family friendly he is and so on,
Hmm.
and also because if his project really involves Ray, I could see Kathy Kennedy saying we need a Ray film as soon as possible.
As soon as
So
possible.
I could see both sides. I'm still gonna lean
Mhm.
Mangold,
Okay.
but what do you think?
I'm going Sean Levy. I've been on this train
Okay.
for a little while. I think there's some stuff in Marvel that's starting to settle out, and Sean Levy's going to be focused on Star Wars. I think Star Wars needs a professional in the room to get this done. And Mangold obviously fits that bill, but I think their number one priority this year is going to be getting this Ray movie figured out. And as much as I want other filmmakers to be able to come in and have their voice, like I would love for Sharmina Obaid Chinoy to get her shot at a Ray film, and I'm not, or just a Star Wars film. I'm not saying that her film is going to be scrapped, but just with the goodwill that you would kind of get from having Sean Levy come out at Celebration and say, I'm working on this. We begin production on this date. I think that's something that would generate a lot of buzz and excitement that Star Wars needs in its feature film setting right now. And I think that we could easily see that snowball. I think Ray is the number one priority for them in 2025. And I think it should be the number one priority for them in 25. And I think Sean Levy's the guy to get that done. So I'm rocking with Levy. That's my prediction. If the Mango movie is the one that gets going, you won't hear an argument from me though. I'm really excited for that
Yeah.
movie too. So it's just I think we both agree we just need to get something, going this year.
Yeah.
Something has.
Again, like I see arguments both ways. So
Mhm.
I couldn't agree more with everything you said. I'm just like I have a hunch that they have this thing with Bob Willimon also
Mhm.
like going on a high, like Mangold. That he's been working for Lucasfilm for a while. Also, I don't know. There's just something that feels a bit more
Mhm.
gutsy. Not, I'm leaning towards him.
Okay.
I don't know.
Sure.
For all the reasons that I said, and just it's just basically a hunch between the two.
You're right. So next one, what will be the next live action series after Ahsoka season 2? Because after that, we don't know. We got Andor season 2 this year, Ahsoka season
Yeah.
2 coming up. What's the next series? What do you think we're gonna see next?
So I think this is really only one of two answers. It's either going to be Skeleton Crew season 2 or a
Okay.
new show, and I'm going to lean towards a new show, which I don't know which one. Maybe a new Mandoverse series that sets up whatever.
Another Mandoverse, yeah.
I mean, I do believe that they have something else in the works. I do believe that Fabro has something cooking up after Mandalorian and Grogu. Like he must have been working out some ideas, and I don't think he's gonna be sitting in the editing room for a year. I think that he's gonna want to, write something and so on. So I
Mhm.
do believe that something else from the Mandoverse is in the works. Um, and then there's another possibility which I wouldn't be shocked about, which are these rumors about the Old Republic show,
Mhm.
um, which would be
That's
a
what
third
I'm.
possibility.
That's what
Yeah,
I think they're gonna do. That's what I think it's gonna be. I think that puts them. So here's my thought process here is that Andor's filming, where it's done. We have this coming out. Ahsoka's gonna film this 2025 slate.
yeah.
2026, they're gonna have the movie, they're gonna have the show, and then 27. I think we're gonna have a movie that comes out around May. I think they're gonna try to figure something out to get that 50th anniversary movie going. I think it's going to be Filoni's movie. I think he's going to finish Ahsoka
No, I
season
don't think
2.
so.
You don't think it's going to come out that year?
Too
Or
tight.
I guess whatever movie comes out this summer, the Ray movie, or starts filming this year, hopefully, like the Ray movie, Dawn of the Jedi. I think they want to get that Filoni movie out in 27 if they can, or like maybe
It's
December.
too tight.
You think it's too tight?
Maybe I don't think he's written it yet, and he's gonna be shooting
Right.
Ahsoka for the rest of the year. So
Right. I think that he has an inkling of what he wants to do because I think it's all setting up
yeah, for
what
sure.
he's planning for. And so I think he's gonna go from one to the other pretty much. Maybe
Maybe
December,
like
maybe December.
I I've been saying the
Mhm.
Filoni for May 27 thing
Right.
for ages.
Mhm.
Like I think that pretty much this since they announced
Mhm.
it that I've been saying that it's gonna be May 27,
Mhm.
but
So
I don't
so I
know.
think
Seems
even 2
too
years down
tight
the
now.
line, though, I think Kennedy will be close to stepping aside at that point if she hasn't already, if we're a few years
Hmm.
away at this point. And 2027, the end of that year, maybe this show comes out, maybe they take their time with this one a little bit and focus more on other things. And I think that the time would then be perfect for something with the Old Republic. I think if the Old Republic were to come out like the show or a movie, I think there'd be a lot of skepticism with it if Kathleen Kennedy is still the leader of Lucasfilm, and whether that's deserved or not, is one thing. I just think there's a big portion of fandom that's really excited for that would be really worried about the current leadership of Lucasfilm taking on, something like that. And so I think if we had the change of leadership in a couple of years and then funneling into the Old Republic, I think that just seems like a logical next step forward. I would be really disappointed if they did another Mandoverse story, at this point. They probably will. But I think at this point, we're having two films set in that era. We have another whole season of television. I think it's the best for all of us if we just kind of move on to something fresh, something new. And I think if a change of leadership happens and you do the Old Republic around that time, that might feel like a turning of the page for most people. And maybe we can kind of get this blank slate moving forward. But it's Star Wars, so probably not. We'll
Okay,
probably
so
be up in
for the
arms
record, I'm
about that.
staying with Mandoverse.
Okay.
Just because I think they want to squeeze in one more show before the conclusion.
Okay. Are you thinking like maybe that Rangers of the New Republic show might be
No,
adapted into something else, or is this going to be something completely that we haven't really heard any sort of like rumor of even in the past?
I mean, it's possible that they had some storylines for that and they will adapt them into, whatever. Like, I do think
Right.
that parts of Mando season 3 were adapted from Rangers, but I
Mhm.
don't think that's gonna be. I don't think the majority of that, what they had planned for that show, will be shaped into a new
Mhm.
series. I think at most one or two storylines.
Okay. That's fair. All right. Moving right along here. What will be the next animated series after Visions Volume 3? What will be the next animated series after Visions Volume 3?
So this is your huge question because you had a whole pod on this a few months ago.
Mhm. Right.
So I'm gonna let you start with this one.
Okay. So I've gone back and forth. A lot of people, oh my gosh, I cannot type right now. Like I'm trying to this is what I'm an ELA teacher and my students might see this and they're gonna make fun of me. But what will then be the next animated series after Visions Volume 3? I have to say, a lot of people are expecting or thinking another clone type storyline, clone rebellion, clone uprising, following Omega and the clone, her in the rebellion. If that happens, I'm going to be really disappointed. Like I'll be honest, I'll be. I mean, it's Star Wars animation. I'm gonna watch and I'll enjoy it. I'm sure they're gonna do a really good job. But to me, it feels like we need something that really maybe pushes the needle a little bit more, especially since in terms of TV shows, we don't really have a clear, future there. And I'm anticipating whatever they want the next series to be. I bet they're hoping this is something that has some legs for a little while to get another 3 or 4 seasons out of. I mean, if you're getting 3 seasons out of Bad Batch, surely if the next idea that you have is a pretty big idea, you can get at least 3 seasons out of whatever you're doing. And for me, that feels like a Luke New Jedi Order. We're setting this up in the sequel era. They can promote the Disney content they already have. A lot of people want more Luke Skywalker, want a lot more Ben Solo. Those are two people I think that are very popular with the fan base. So tell that story. Fill in some blanks that maybe would help some people with The Last Jedi or had problems with The Force Awakens. Maybe you tell that story, and you can even bridge it in a way where if you want to stretch it out, maybe the first little bit is what leads to the fall of Luke's Jedi Order. And the last little bit, maybe you fill in some gaps in between episodes 8 and 9 with Kylo Ren as the leader of the First Order, and you pick up, after episode 8. Do what the Clone Wars did for, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith in a lot of ways, filling in some of those gaps, answering some of those, questions that people have. I think that would be the best way to do it. I'm worried that they're a little too afraid to do that right now, but I think they might play it safe with clones or a crime syndicate show, something like that. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna say we're gonna have some cojones here, and we're gonna get Luke Skywalker, Ben Solo, New Jedi Order. That's my prediction slash what I'm begging for.
I could go either way here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't fully see it because what do you do with the voices? Do you bring Mark Hamill back? Like that seems complicated for multiple
Mm-hmm.
seasons. Like it seems cute for a Lego animated show, but too complicated here. You will not bring Adam Driver back. You will not pay him enough money
Mm-hmm.
for that.
Right. Do we need to
Um,
though? I don't. I think
Probably
there's
not.
because I think there's
Pro-
enough love from people for Matt Lanter, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but the guy
yeah,
who voices Obi-Wan, in the Clone Wars, where I think people can separate it.
I'm gonna go with, and I just
Mhm,
came up with this on the spot. I'm gonna go with similar to what you were saying, but an animated show set in the sequel trilogy era, similar to
mhm,
what the Clone Wars did, but with original characters.
mhm,
And maybe they bring in some occasional cameos, like Poe Dameron or
mhm,
I don't know, Holdo or
mhm,
whoever. But I think the next show will be original. I don't think it's gonna be
mhm,
led by original, meaning original characters, so newly created characters. I
mhm.
don't think it's gonna be Luke. I don't think it's gonna be them. I
The
could also
only
see
thing. Mhm.
I
Go
could
ahead.
also
Go
see
ahead.
them setting up something in the Old Republic if they want to do a live action show there. I could see them setting up the era through animation first, or something like that, or maybe even exploring the post Rise of Skywalker era first animation. But I'm gonna keep that card up my sleeve for later.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
go ahead.
I would love to see something like that. I just wonder if it would have to be something a little more ambitious than what they did with Resistance. I don't know if you're even familiar with Resistance, but that
No,
was
I
set
have seen it.
sequel. Okay, sequel era, brand new characters. It would need to be a little bit more
Yeah,
hands-on with the actual Resistance and the fight against the First Order. I think that was too small, like scale for this next whatever this big one
yeah.
is.
It's a good
Mhm.
point that they have already tried something like that. Yeah, yeah.
So maybe if they did center it where Finn Poe are around, but we are at like Resistance Base headquarters, and we're going different places, and we're seeing the fight against the First Order firsthand. I'm perfectly fine with any of that. So for me, it's just a matter of this next show to me with. They done the season 7 of Clone Wars. They finished that up. We've done Bad Batch. We've had little shorts here or there, Tales of the Jedi. We've had Tales of the Empire. This next show to me, it feels like they need to go a little bit bigger. Like this needs to be a little bit more ambitious in what we're trying to do. And maybe that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean we have to have Luke Skywalker as the head, but when we think about all the stories in Star Wars animation, it is kind of interesting. Like Luke Skywalker is really nowhere to be found in these animated stories that we've told, for the most part, outside of some of the fun Legos. So to me, that is maybe the number one story out there that some people might want to see told. But again, I have 100% trust in the animated team at this point because I've thoroughly
Okay,
enjoyed everything.
I'm convinced. I'm gonna switch my answer. I'm gonna say an Old Republic show,
That
just because
again, that would be
I
awesome.
don't think it for what you say. I don't think it makes sense to set it in the sequel era.
Okay.
I'm gonna switch my answer to an Old Republic show.
Okay.
Still
Fair
original
enough.
characters.
Okay, that again, that would be there's so much fun that they could have in the Old
Yeah.
Republic with everything going there. Okay, what will be the next AAA video game release? What will the next AAA video game released be?
Mm, I'm gonna say Eclipse.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you sell me on that? Because I feel like I'm not the biggest video game guy in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like there's next to nothing out there on it
I think this is
other
going to
than
be
bad
the
press.
year where they start pushing it
Okay.
because they've been working on this for a while. So
Right.
when they announced it in December 2021, they had been working on it, but it was like still very early days, and they were pushing this trailer for to sell the company, right? So it was a small company that wanted to be acquired, and they were like hyping themselves up by
Mm-hmm.
putting out this trailer and so on. It's been 3+ years now,
Mm-hmm.
and they have had a lot of time. It's true that there have been some developments behind the scenes, and that most of them have not been very positive. But I don't know if they really want to do this game. This should be the time when they start pushing
Mm-hmm.
it. Another possibility is this Beat Reactor game that they have been working on for a while, but I'm not quite sure what the status of that is. So I'm gonna say Eclipse. Because Eclipse is either going to be announced for 2026 this year or just straight up canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Which I could also see because now the High Republic is pretty much dead. When they
I
announced this,
I
it
just
was
I
like
just feel like it's not gonna. I just feel like it's not gonna happen at this point. It stinks because that I don't know all the ins and outs. I know there was a lot of bad things going on in terms of the people in charge of the company that's making this game
yeah,
and things like that. I'm not into the video game sphere, so I can't say that I'm in the know all these things. Obviously, I don't want people to be taken advantage of in the workplace, but just from talking about the video game and from what I saw of the little trailer they released, it looked like it really it looked really cool. I was really excited to see
yeah,
what I saw, but
yeah.
from
To
everything
see
that's happened
Voldemort playing
since,
drums.
it just seems that like it's gonna be dead. I think I don't know anything about. I'll be honest. I'm not a big video game guy, so I'm just gonna go with the third Survivor one because I know that that one's getting made. I know that they're actively working on it because it's already had two, and I know it's gonna do well because it's kind of like the ultimate climactic finale of the character in the game. So I'm just gonna go with that one. It seems like the safest bet, maybe because we just know it's
Right.
getting
So I'm like I guess that the timeline for each game depends on a lot of things. For me, I wasn't counting on Jedi 3 until 2027 because it was like 4 years between Fallen Order and
done.
Survivor. It was like 3.5, uh, more specifically. So that would set us at the end of 2026 or beginning of 2027, and maybe they want to push another game before that.
Hmm.
But it's true that they also worked on Survivor during the pandemic, so that also probably pushed them back a bit, and maybe they can rush the next one for 2026. It's
Hmm.
also possible that they are, this one is bigger, so it takes more time. I don't know.
Hmm. All right.
Uh,
I
uh,
have nothing else to add. It's whatever it needs to be, honestly, for me.
yeah.
So, what is the next publishing
Okay, this
initiative
is for you,
after the
mostly.
High Republic?
Yeah,
Okay, so
take
High
it away.
Republic wraps up in June. I have no idea what is going to be next because I think Lucasfilm has to decide how bold do they want to be with the next story, initiative that they're going to tell. I spoke with Paul a few weeks ago and we talked about how we have a very difference of opinion in terms of books and ancillary content that pushes the mythology of Star Wars forward. He's sitting here going, things like the High Republic are not consequential reads for Star Wars fans because they don't impact the characters that we know based off of movies and some of these bigger shows. I totally, see that. And someone who's not necessarily in the weeds of Star Wars might be attracted to reading something that happens hundreds of years before anything we see on screen. My standpoint is, to me, the mythology of Star Wars is more about looking at the anthology that spans thousands of years. And if I can just fall in love with characters set in Star Wars and grow with them, to me, that expands everything within the universe. However, I think after doing something like the High Republic, which takes place out of what people know, I think that they are going to push the next phase forward into the timeline. And so I think we're going to see some heavy sequel trilogy content coming out. I think we're going to see some sort of initiative of the Resistance. We're going to have books centered around Rey, Kylo Ren, Poe, Finn, General Leia Organa, even Han Solo. Like, what is Luke going on? Like his Jedi Order. I think we're really going to see an initiative and a push in the sequel era content because one, established characters that people do care about. They can fill in different gaps and they can take some big steps in those because it's not like they're going to be doing any feature films set within those blocks anymore. And they can really work around that timeline. So I think we're going to see a sequel era push in books because that's honestly the place where you need it the most. There's so much filled in everywhere else at this point in the timeline, but there are no stories about Luke's Jedi Order. There's no stories about Luke and Ben's Jedi Order outside of Shadow of the Sith, which has Ben Solo in it for the first chapter, and that's about it. There are no stories about the Resistance outside of like Rise of the not Rise of the Resistance. It's like
Resistance
Resistance
Reborn.
Reborn, Resistance
Mm.
Reborn, which takes place right there. And you have Alphabet Squadron, which I believe takes place. I'm not actually 100% sure on the timeline for that. I think it's like post Return of the Jedi ish. But in terms of sequel era, we are lacking there, and you can take some big swings. So I'm going sequel era publishing.
I'm gonna take it one step further. I'm gonna say post Rise of Skywalker to build up the new movies.
Mm-hmm. See, that's what I would like to. I'm just worried if they're too afraid to do anything because they don't know what they want to do yet with Ray, and they don't know exactly who's doing that movie yet. And so
Right, but I
announcing
don't mean
some.
Ray, but you can do a lot with how the galaxy deals with the political situation
Mhm,
after the defeat of Palpatine.
mhm. Fair
I'm
enough.
not
That's good.
saying that the initiative is gonna involve Ray at all.
Mhm,
Like they can do so much around her. Like there's
mhm.
so much rebuilding to do, and so
Right.
much of what we did wrong the last time and what we should do right the next time.
Mhm. Right.
So, and I do think that they're trying to coordinate the post Rise of Skywalker efforts. And
Mhm,
whether it's with this Simon Kinberg trilogy, whether it's Sean Levy's movie that's supposedly taking place after
mhm.
that movie, or even like the original plan for the Charmin movie was 15 years after Rise of Skywalker. That's a lot of time
Mhm,
for them to
mhm,
play around in, and they
mhm.
could even do something like the High Republic, where they in phase two they do something in the past, so they bring it
Right.
back to pre-Force Awakens and explore how
Right.
the the Resistance was originally formed and all that.
How it's formed. Absolutely. So I agree. It needs to be something set post Return of the Jedi, whatever it is, and it needs to be close enough to the Force Awakens to feel really consequential, whatever they do. I would love anything if they did like Luke's Jedi Order, talking about the formation of the Resistance. If they went straight into the Resistance, did some books in there. If they went straight beyond, that's fine. It has to be. It needs to feel something there, and maybe a little bit more weight to the overall saga for the next one. That's where I am right now. How will Cassian and K2SO meet in Andor season 2? How will Cassian and K2SO meet in Andor season 2? I think there's a comic out there that
Yeah,
answers this question.
yeah,
I am
exactly. So that's the point.
not
So
familiar
will
with
they
that
adapt the
comic
comic?
necessarily. Hmm.
Will they adapt the comic,
Hmm.
or will they not? Will they break
Right.
canon for this?
Hmm.
What do you think?
I think they will. I
Okay,
think it's loosely structured because I think here it comes down to I don't think Tony Gilroy is sitting there writing this and coming up with this story going, what happened in this comic that shows Cassian and K2 meeting? I think he's going to say, oh, this is a great story for how they meet. Oh, there's some comic that 100 people read, I'm probably more than 100 people, but this is what we're going to do. It'll just come down to I don't know how involved Cloney's chief creative officer. I don't know how involved he is in saying, hey, this breaks something that already happens. We need to tweak it a little bit. They'll probably break it, but I think it's not going to be some obscene, just completely trash whatever was come before. It's going to be different, but I think you can still find a way to appreciate both, if that makes sense.
so the thing is, I'm not talking about Filoni, but Pablo Hidalgo, he's someone who worked really close with Gilroy on season
Okay.
one, and they have a really good relationship. And uh, he's apparently said that Gilroy was very open to hearing about what is going on in canon and what happened in this game, what happened in that
Okay.
book over there. So I do believe that at some point Hidalgo did tell Gilroy, there's this comic and these two meet this way. Will he
Okay.
adapt it faithfully? I do not think so, but I do think that the structure will be similar. I think well, whatever the setting was, I think it was something like a prison or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but whatever the setting was, maybe it will be similar enough that
Mhm.
we can say, okay, they at least tried. I'm not saying that the dialogue is going to be the same or any of that,
Mhm.
but I do think that they will not tear apart what came
Okay, they're not
before.
just gonna throw it away and just rip it
No,
up
I don't
and
think
say
so.
there. Okay. So next question is still about Andor season 2. Will we see the Gorman massacre on screen in Andor season 2? Where are you at with this?
Absolutely yes, and we've already seen it in the trailers.
Hmm.
This is the scene where the stormtroopers are marching through the crowds. I think that this event that is alluded to is in various canon places where
Hmm.
they start shooting at the innocent protesters. That's gonna be the scene that we see in the very short trailer that we got last year.
Hmm. I think that this is going to be the final episode of the first arc. I think this is going to be the final episode in the first arc,
Maybe the
just
second one.
because maybe the second one, just because they're doing a year in between all of these, moments or something like that. And the Gorman massacre, and there's gonna be someone in the comments that corrects me on my timeline, but that's the part where Mon Mothma basically that happens, and then Mothma does her thing, and she goes and she just leaves the Senate to go join the rebellion and becomes essentially the face of the rebellion. And I think when we're doing these jumps, to me it makes sense. Okay, the end of the first arc that we're going to have, boom, Empire massacring people. Mon Mothma then moves into the next phase, and then we see the rebellion really starting to get formed, and that's when Mon Mothma and Cassian can start to possibly have a relationship moving forward, because we're leading up all the way to Rogue One. So there has to be some really big event here, and I just timeline wise, I think that it would line up, similarly timeline wise to where it kind of we get to that point at the end of Rogue One. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it needs to be in that first set of few episodes.
So my initial thought is to be the second block because I think they're gonna use the first block as setup, and the second one to actually it's gonna be like the first one is gonna crescendo into what the second block is, and that's
Mhm.
gonna climax into the Gorman massacre. And I
Is
will
it
add
four
one
sets of
more
three or
piece of
three sets of
evidence to that.
four again?
Come again?
Is it three sets of four episodes or
Yeah.
four sets of three?
No, sorry, four sets of three. So one, two,
Four sets of three.
three,
That's okay.
1, 2, 3, jump, four, five,
Mhm.
six,
Okay.
jump.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
one more piece of evidence for this, Bob Willimon is writing the second block.
Okay. Is
So
he
I
the
could
one who
see
wrote?
he's the one who wrote the prison arc.
Okay, that's right. And he's the one that's is he writing with Mangold for
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I mean,
Makes
I
sense.
guess also Tony Gilroy is writing the first block, so he could write it himself.
Mhm.
So that could be
Okay.
a point for you. But I do
That's right.
think that they're gonna give this one to Willimon.
Okay. I I just hope we see it. I think we're in agreement that this is a major event in terms of the
Yeah,
formation of the rebellion, so we need to see this on screen. Next one. Some Visions Volume 3. Will we see the Ninth Jedi story in Visions Volume 3? I think this was like the most popular one from Visions Volume 1.
yeah.
And moving forward, makes sense that they're going to do something else here with the Ninth Jedi story. I don't have a ton to say about Visions. I've watched it, once or twice, comes and goes. When it comes out again, I'll check it out. But yeah, I would say yes. This seems like a safe yes for Visions Volume 3.
I think so. That the creators have talked about continuing the story, and I think that and they're going back to them for a season three. So I think it makes perfect sense that they're gonna follow through on those plans.
Mhm. So this one doesn't necessarily come into play in 2025, but it could. Like I think the Will the Mandalorian story continue after the movie. This doesn't necessarily come into play this year. I think that the framework around this is could there be an announcement of the next show at Celebration? I don't necessarily think that that's going to happen, but that would be the place to announce what the next show is going to be once Ahsoka and Andor wrap up. And this is where we could find out that the Mandalorian story continues at this point. So, do you think that the Mandalorian story will continue after the movie in 26? Or do you think, for the most part,
So I
that's
can't
going to be
remember
the
how
wrap?
this was phrased. I can't remember how this was phrased on the original story. I think it was, or should have been something like, "How will it continue?"
Okay.
Was it something like if so, I do think it will
Let
continue.
me
I do
double
think
check
they will
what you
make a
wrote.
sequel. I do think they will make a sequel if it performs. Like if this thing breaks 500 million, which I think it has a good chance of, they will 100% do a sequel. Will Favreau direct it? I'm not sure, but I do think they will try to do a sequel, which would happen after the Filoni movie, maybe.
So you're thinking right now, like 500 million is like the threshold for
Yeah.
whether or not this thing probably gets a sequel. Okay. I Here's the thing. I know that a lot of it might come down to yes, it does say it says if so, how, basically. You said will the
Yeah.
story continue and if so, how. Here's my question is Mando is definitely and Grogu, I think will definitely be a part of whatever Filoni's movie is planned. Like they have to be involved in this some
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
They're just too big. And so I just wonder, Favreau and Filoni are working pretty closely on a lot of these things. What is their plan for him in that movie? Like, do they have a set arc for him already kind of spelled out in terms of Mando? Maybe not Grogu, but for Mando, do they have a kind of a set arc already, in mind? And would they pivot from that if this movie does really well and like maybe exceeds their expectations? Would they go back and say, "Oh, maybe we need to change, what we do in the next movie in order to make it possible for him to have another adventure here."
I don't think that they wouldn't kill him off anytime, like at any time. Like I think that they will keep that door open as long as possible,
Mhm,
just because they can do, bounty hunter stories with him forever.
mhm. Yep. I
So
tend to agree.
yeah,
I tend to agree.
I don't have much to add here.
Okay. Next one here. What happens to the High Republic after 2025? We're getting towards the second half here. Most of these are going to be rapid fire, but what happens to the High Republic
Yeah,
after 25? I'll take this. I think it's going to go away for a little while. We have some Acolyte prequel things that come out here for a little bit. And we have a story. We have a question about the Acolyte here in a moment that I think will kind of give more of my answer. I think we're going to see a few stories here and there, but I think we're going to see like a pause. I think we're going to see a pause for a little bit. There may be some comic, stories that come out, or maybe like a one-shot book here or there, but they've done so much in this era. We're talking at this point dozens of books, comic runs, all of that. I think we're going to see a nice break for a while, at least in the era of the High Republic that we're in. There's certainly some places they could go fill in some gaps in different times, especially in the past, in the second phase of the High Republic. But for now, we're gonna say goodbye for a little while.
I think that the story of the Acolyte will be in continued on print. I think they will.
We can just jump. That was the next one. Was will the story of the
Yeah,
acolyte continue in print? I think. I
I
guess.
think both of these are correlated, and I think this will be the next thing for the High Republic after Trials of the Jedi.
Mhm. My
After
only
that book is
issue.
published, yeah,
Mhm.
go ahead.
But my only issue is that for a lot of people that are hardcore, like High Republic fans, they would just acknowledge that the acolyte did not feel or look at all like a High Republic story. It just felt like they just said High Republic in the show, like marketing or the running up to it, but nothing in the show resonates anything with the High Republic era. Nothing that visually is seen, nothing in the tone, nothing in even how the Jedi are speaking in any way, shape, or form feels like a High Republic show outside of some of the Jedi are wearing like the golden robes that the Jedi typically wear at that time. And we saw Jedi vectors, the ships they flew around for a brief shot here or there. Nothing else. That's what was so off-putting for me about some of the show was just how much it didn't feel like what they were trying to tell me it was. Anyway,
I,
so
I
but
understand, but
in the
like
era that's technically High Republic. So yes, I
exactly. So we're talking about the era, and the era involves the Acolyte, whether you like it or not, and whether you like the
mhm,
show or not. So
mhm,
if we're talking about the Acolyte as part of that era, I do think that the story will continue
right.
because mainly because they had plans for Plagueis. And I think that if you're Leslie Headland, you're like, listen, I understand that you don't want to be making a
Mhm,
second season, investing another 300 million into my story, but I do have some notes,
mhm,
and I would like for
mhm.
this to be printed at some point. So how
And
about you
maybe if a
get
story
this
about
right over
Plagueis,
here?
yeah, takes if you can get a
Yeah,
story like that that takes off, you could see an adaptation of that at some point too, even down the
which I
line.
think is what they're gonna like. Just do a couple novels, do a few comic runs, where you tell the story of Plagueis, where you tell how the story of May and Osha continued, and
Mhm,
just you land that ship with then Palpatine and all that, and just
mhm,
like last
yeah,
chapter of the last book is how Palpatine killed Plagueis, and you're done with it.
yep, makes sense. Can Marvel keep its momentum after the Battle of Jakku? Again, as a comic guy, I have to say that I believe that we're gonna see. Did you hear that?
I heard something. I'm not sure what.
So the Vikings, Minnesota Vikings, and the Los
Okay.
Angeles Rams play a big playoff game tonight, and one of
Is
my
that one
best
in
friends.
in Arizona or whatever? Like they moved because of the fires.
Right, yes, they're playing
Yeah,
in Phoenix today, and so anyway, one of my best friends is a big Vikings fan, so he just walked in doing his chant to watch the game. We were gonna watch the game over here, but so
I see. I see.
occasionally you might hear some cheers from the side. You never know. But can Marvel keep its momentum? There is a lot of I'm gonna say no because I think that actually hold on, I just completely forgot. Legacy of Darth Vader, the Kylo Ren series starts up next month. So yes, absolutely it can because Charles Soule is back taking the reins. We finished up some Darth Vader stuff. We finished up or sorry, he didn't do Darth Vader, but he's been doing some other things. But he's back doing Kylo Ren Legacy of Darth Vader. And Charles Soule has done Darth Vader before. He's now moving forward. He knows the dark side. He knows how this works. Those comics, I think, are going to be really, really, impressive. So I think Marvel's set up to have one of the better comic book runs it's had for a while with that series leading the way.
I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna say that this Legacy of Vader comic is going to be the start, or rather, like the start in 2025. But Marvel will continue the idea of doing some big events like the Battle of Jakku
Mhm.
and exploring that into other big events in 2025. So I do think that there will be, like at Celebration, they will announce something like a three mini series that they will cross over
Mhm.
in some other galactic event.
Right.
I'm not sure what yet,
So
but I
um,
do think that it will happen this year.
I would agree. Who will be the cast in the next Star Wars film, or who will be cast in the next Star Wars film? Do you think they're going to go for a big name? or do you think we're going to see, some smaller actors that maybe actresses haven't had that big moment yet? And Star Wars has done that a lot in the past with people, and we're going to discover maybe the next big star in one of these films. A lot of this might
I
just
do
depend on
think
what movie gets cast.
yes, that is like, and this is the hard part about answering these questions because some of these are very layered.
Mhm.
But I do think that the next person that we learn about that will be in a Star Wars film after Mando and Grogu, so not including that movie,
Mhm.
even if we hear next week that uh,
Right.
Jabba the Hutt is coming back and he will be voiced by Tom Cruise. I'm not counting that. I'm counting the next film that gets a casting update. I do think it will be a big name,
Mhm.
meaning, or rather, someone we recognize. It will not be something like Daisy Ridley in
Mhm.
2015.
Right, right, right.
Uh, it will be someone we recognize, and also someone who has either worked with Lucasfilm before or with the corresponding director. So if it's
Okay.
Sean Levy, maybe someone from Deadpool 3 or the Adam Project or whatever.
Mhm.
And if it's Mangold, someone from A Complete Unknown or someone
Okay.
from Indiana Jones.
So Timothy
Like
Chalamet
Boyd Hol.
in
No, but
Star Wars now.
someone
You're
like
I'm just joking.
Boyd Holbrook having a
Mhm.
big role in Mangold's film could be something. Or was Elle Fanning in A Complete Unknown? Uh,
I haven't seen it yet, and I haven't really been watching any of the marketing for it and everything. I haven't
uh,
seen it yet.
the female lead from A Complete
I
Unknown, I
have a
think.
3-day weekend coming up here, so my goal is on Monday to do a double feature of a couple
Is that
movies.
MLK weekend or what is it?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's my goal. I wanna go see a couple movies and try to get all my stuff done.
Yeah, Elle
I
Fanning was in A Complete Unknown, and
Okay.
also Monica Barbero is the one that has the momentum right now. So one of those, like, I could see happening.
Mhm.
Not like
I would
Timmy,
love that.
like he's too big.
I would love any of those sound fabulous to me. I'm not really good at this type of guessing game, or even like this next one here. Who is the new writer on Obey Shinoi's New Jedi Order movie? And we'll pair this will the New Jedi Order movie actually happen? I'm gonna say for this one, will the new Jedi Order movie happen? I don't think it's happening at this point in the way that was previously told to us, which is Arbe Shinoy, Daisy Ridley. I think Sean Levy's going to take in this new slot, and I don't know if they're going to still call it New Jedi Order or anything like that, but I think that he's going to do that. Well, I have no idea who's going to write this movie or who all is going to be involved in this, but I think that we're going to see her not necessarily be phased out. I'm not saying she has no role or place in terms of getting a movie up and going, but it seems to me I think they're going to shift a different direction, and I can't see them starting to film and plan multiple movies with Ray with different directors at different timelines and different. It just seems like there's too much going on. I think they're going to pick like kind of one path forward for now.
Okay. I agree. The new Jedi Order will not happen. I agree with that. Because they have hired a writer, and I do think that they're trying something. Whether it's like, I don't think it's gonna be what they announced at all.
Mhm.
Whether what they announced ends up being Sean Levy's movie, or whether that's a whole new idea and they're just like scrapping whatever plan they had
Mhm.
initially. I don't know. And as far as the new writer goes, um, I'm gonna take a pass as well. If I come up,
Yeah,
I
it's a
I
tough
do know
one.
that I came up with a name recently, and I'm like, so I could see this happening, but I don't know right now. If I come up with a name before the end of the show, I will tell you. If not,
Okay.
we'll take a pass.
Will there be any theatrical release plans associated with Andor season 2? Rogue One came out before Andor season 1, and I went to go see that in theaters. It was great. To me, it's really easy for them to roll out a Star Wars film after, something comes out. Maybe they do this at the very end since it leads into Andor season 2. Like I wonder if They might, they've done theater releases for some finales for shows and some premieres. So I wonder, could there be a premiere for Andor season 2, or maybe there's like a finale event where you see the final episode of Andor season 2. There's like a brief intermission, and you come back for Rogue One, and you just go straight into Rogue One. I could see them doing something like that. The only interesting thing to think about with just timing it all up is there will probably be a Revenge of the Sith theatrical release going on while in the middle of Andor with the 20-year anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. I imagine they might time that up sometime in May for the 20-year anniversary. So will they re-release two Star Wars films in theaters within a couple months of each other? I don't know what that looks like. To me, that doesn't seem too difficult to do. So I'll say yes. Just because I want
Yes,
that to happen.
yes to the finale and then Rogue One. They will
Mhm.
absolutely do that.
I will be there. I don't care what I got going on. I don't care. I'm as busy as can be right now. I do not care what it is. I'm there. I'll wait all day. I'll zoom in from school for school, whatever I need to do. Whatever I need to do. We have a few left. We'll go pretty quickly through these. Will John Boyega return to Star Wars in 2025? I think he's at Celebration. I think this is going to be a good thing. I think we're going to have good vibes after Celebration because John Boyega and Daisy will both be there together.
I'm gonna say
Go ahead
no.
and go ahead and shoot me in the heart, please. Yes, there it is.
No.
Yeah. I want it so bad. I don't think I want anything as badly as John Boyega and Daisy to be Jedi in a movie together. Like that's what I want so
I'm gonna
much.
say no, but just because I was so wrong last year that maybe this year I'm wrong again, and you're right.
Thank you. That would be amazing. When will we see Boba Fett again? He's got to
Mando
be
and
in.
Grogu.
I was gonna say Mando and Grogu, right?
Yeah,
Has to be. Again, this isn't a
I think so.
2025 prediction. Some of these are beyond 25, but you know, Boba Fett, Mando and Grogu has to happen, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I'm with you on that. Especially, there is no one in Star Wars. There's very few people in Star Wars I love more than Tamora Morrison. Like,
yeah.
I just love him. I just really want him to be able to get another Boba Fett moment. And especially with everything that went on in the book of Boba Fett, you're bringing in Rhoda the Hutt apparently for this. Like, he has worked with Mando before. It's just so easy. It's so easy to slide him in.
Yeah.
Fan favorite too. Will Dr. Afra make the jump to live action this year? I don't think she's showing. I don't think Afra's showing up in Andor season 2. And so there's really no other place for Afra to show up in 2025. I'm not saying it won't ever
No,
happen,
they can announce the
but
show or whatever.
I guess they could, but I can't see that happening this year.
Me neither. No.
When will we get stories from the Old Republic? So if the next animated show is Old Republic, it could be this year. If you're correct before, it could be this year. I think we're going to have to wait a couple years.
I'm gonna say before 2027. Before December 31st, 2027, we're gonna get something Old Republic from Lucasfilm.
They have, those rumors did just resurface for the thousandth time about them having an Old Republic show in works. It could be, maybe it's the animated show. Like that is the one they have in works, and
No,
that's
I
their
think it was
Old Republic
specifically
soft
mentioned
launch.
live action.
Okay, okay, never mind then. Fair enough. Will we finally get a Two Tubes figure this
The
year from
only
Hasbro or
question that
something else?
matters here.
This is the only thing that matters in 2025, especially considering
Yeah,
Mark Hamill is on a question coming up soon. But this is the one that
yeah.
matters.
So to disappoint our editor in chief, I'm gonna say no. We will not. Two Tubes will not get the respect it deserves, and will not get a figure in 2025.
They're gonna be
Although
beyond the
Andor season
figure.
2 is
It's
coming
gonna
up,
be like
so
a
maybe.
mini sculpture, one of those like right here. You buy it for $300, and it's just tubes with his staff. That's what we're gonna get. That's what we're gonna get. Next one is, will J.J. Abrams and the Force Awakens cast be in Japan? We're looking at 10 years since the Force Awakens came out this year. A lot of anniversaries for Star Wars this year. So will the Force Awakens cast be in Japan? J.J. Abrams as well. What do you think?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say that 3 out of the main 4 will be in Japan, meaning Daisy, John, Oscar, and Adam Driver. 3 of 4 will be there.
Ooh.
Daisy will be there for sure. John Boyega will be there for sure. Between I think Oscar will be there for sure.
Hmm. Okay,
Adam, I'm
I
not
could see
sure.
those three. If Adam's there, that'd be really awesome. I don't see him
Yeah,
showing up for
and
anything like
JJ,
this
the
right
reason with JJ is because he's shooting a movie for WB, like for the first time in 5 years, six
now.
years
Okay,
actually.
okay.
So will he actually time it out so that he can be in
Hmm.
Japan? I'm gonna say yes. I think that
Hmm.
he still
I hope so.
has some loyalty to Star
Mhm.
Wars and some good memories from that
Mhm.
time. So I'm gonna say yes.
I hope so. Just like I hope that they re-release that in theaters for a weekend towards the end of the year as
I
well. For the,
wish.
I hope so because
Yeah,
I would love to go see it again. Is Mark Hamill going to be involved in some way in 2025? So the only way I think this happens is if the animated show that is coming out, if the animated show is like he's voicing it, and then they like do some work to where they do some sort of work to where he is dubbed a little bit. They alter his voice a little bit to make it a little smaller. I guess they could do. They've been doing. I don't even know what's called, like that mocap stuff where he's been using Luke, and then they use the other face thing and all of that stuff to make him appear, as someone else young, as make him appear younger for the shows. I guess if they're filming Ahsoka season 2 and they want Luke to be in Ahsoka season 2, that's a way that he could be involved. But I'm going to say no. I don't think Mark Hamill is going to do anything in Star Wars this year.
I'm gonna say yes to Ahsoka.
You think so?
I think that makes sense. I hadn't
Hmm.
really thought about it. I was gonna say no, but I think Camille and Ahsoka makes sense because of how Boba Fett ended,
Hmm. Do you think
and
there's
they
any
didn't really
way?
get to that in season one.
Right. Do you think there's any way they recast those three, or do you think it's 100% going to be the CGI face stuff for the shows and movies?
I mean, they are recasting Baylan Skull, so that tells you that they're open to this idea. And I think that if they have something cool for them, meaning more than a scene, I think they might recast.
Hmm. That's what I hope. If it's just like quick little cameos, like maybe in between, like similar to Mando season 2,
Yeah,
finale, then I'm okay with the like the face over. I don't even know what it's called. I'm not the technical guy, but if it's like significant roles where we're gonna see them for extended period of time, like you said, I really hope that they choose to recast them for something, because I think that just gives them more to play with down the line, even, and you could easily bring in all them for some stuff too if he's available. You already have your Han Solo, so that's what I hope. Ready for the last one? Here we go. Last one. Where and when will the next Star Wars celebration be? And to me, this just comes down to, do you think there's a celebration in 26 or not? Because 27 is locked for Anaheim. Because it's a lock that we're going to be in Anaheim in 2027 for the 50th Star Wars celebration. I guess it just depends on, we've had Japan, we had London, and it's been 6 years since a U.S. celebration. So if you go to
no,
next year, 2019, right?
no,
Oh, I know there was
2022,
the COVID one, 2020, 21. I guess
2022.
it got pushed to 22.
Yeah, I was there.
Oh, that's right. You were
May
there.
22, May
Okay.
2022.
Well, that doesn't really fit my what I was hoping then, because I was hoping it'd be a really long time, like 7 years. But I guess if it's only been a few years, then it's not that big a deal. But anyway.
I'm gonna say there's no celebration in 26.
Mhm. And then we'll think Anaheim 27, have like a gap. What it
Although,
just seems weird with their return to films though, too. That same May, there wouldn't be something going on.
yes, but if it's because um
They probably want all
I
hands
don't
on
know.
deck for the 50th anniversary, I guess. And you don't want to, call in any favors for people even showing up to a celebration in 26, because you might want to hold that one for 27 even, I guess. But I'm going to say yes, and it's going to be in Orlando in 2026, just because that's what I want as an Orlando citizen who has never been to a Star Wars celebration. And the easiest way for me to go to a Star Wars celebration is if they come to Orlando that year. So that's what I'm going to say. And I'm going to predict that is announced at 2025 Japan. And I'm going to be a very happy man. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, to end things, we have done 24 predictions. We did skip the um the writer for the new Jedi Order one.
I
So
guess
I'm
we did
gonna
skip
request from you a wild prediction that was not listed before.
that. Okay.
Gonna give
A
you a few
wild
seconds.
prediction.
Yeah, something that was not brought up today.
Okay. Okay. Something that was not brought up today in a few seconds. Ooh. I'm going to say that we will get they will okay, so they're I think they're going to film we talked about Star Wars filming. We're going to film another feature film starting this year, but we are going to have a very clear path forward on the second one. So I think we're going to have this filmed this year, and then by this time next year, we'll be talking about the other one that's starting filming within a few weeks, like or a month, because they're already signed on, they're on set, and they've already like even the director said we will be here on this day. I think they're gonna get their ish together. If I had to say anything else, I would say we're going to have three, animated projects this year: a show, a Tales of Jedi or Tales of something short, and then something else that happens around Star Wars Celebration or May the Fourth, just to fill in some gaps since they know they only have the one show. I think they're gonna do some extra legwork on some animation things.
Okay,
So that's what I'll go with.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say like this could go many ways. I could go something like whether they will Taika will say something about his movie like it's happening or it's not happening. I'm gonna say something very different, and I'm gonna say that Under season two is gonna win an Emmy in one of the bigger categories, meaning
Oh, I
best drama,
need it.
best actor, best actress, or best supporting actor, best supporting actor. Like one of these,
They're gonna sweep it.
you know, no, not a sweep. Like one of them,
Oh, they're
one of
sweet.
these.
They're no. We're going even bigger. Let's get crazy. No,
No,
I'm
no,
just
no. You're wrong. You're wrong because Last Pass is returning for second season, so that's gonna get the sweep, and the only upset will be from Under.
kidding. Fair enough. Fair enough. That'll work. I'll accept those terms. I can't wait to go to bed crying every night when I watch The Last of Us season 2 and hate myself for it. I can't wait. It's gonna be wonderful. Can't wait to do that to myself.
I
Anyway,
expect daily reports.
of course, of course. Everyone, thank you for listening. Make sure you check out Star Wars Newsnet for all your Star Wars needs. If you want to check out, Miguel wrote a whole article talking about all of these 25 predictions, detailing them a little bit more in writing. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and check out our website. You can follow us anywhere you are on social media. Check us out, Apple and Spotify at Star Wars Newsnet. Make sure you tune in for Star Wars Newsnet Live every Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern Time and check out the Timeline Show on the weekends. We will see you next time. For Light and Life, everyone, remember that we are all the Republic.